I'm going to be having a reader read to you Exodus chapter 1 verses 8 through 22. Again, this is my previous video, just in case of the sound and animals around here. Deer is coming up to me asking for a drink, because I recently just seen one around here. But we're going to talk about the paranoia of Pharaoh, the stages from just fear to oppression. Now we can see this in jobs and relationships. We can see this family. Sometimes we can even oppress ourselves because of fear.
Exodus chapter 1. Then a new
So you see the nature of paranoid people and what it can lead them up to. And I'm going to show you the signs. I'm going to give you 5 signs that it leads from fear all the way up to death. Number 1, of course, is fear. Fear leads to intimidation. You're being intimidated, it's going to lead you to dominate. From dominating, it's going to lead you to oppressing someone or a group of people. From oppressing, it leads you to death. God did not give you a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And perfect love casts out all fear. So you see that oppressive nature of fear, but knowing that love overcomes fear. Matter of fact, love is more powerful than fear. Out of all these 3, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. Now, just to be brief with you, because this just came up, I had a dream. I was kind of caught up in the second heavens, and there was this dragon. I mean, it's a beautiful dragon, all white, and it's it had maybe rainbow colors shimmering off of his back and sides, and it was coming towards me. It was huge, and it spewed out some black foggy substance at me, like a black mass. And I had a sword in my hand, right in front of me, and I said, perfect love casts out all fear. And once I said that, it went right through that dark mass that came out of his mouth. It split away, and I was right back in my place again, standing with the sword. And I knew that what he spit out of his mouth was fear. And at the end of the dream, there were angels all around me, just just all around me, and then that was it. So back to what I was saying, those are the stages of a person in power who is influenced by fear. Herod did the same. In Matthew chapter 2, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem, during the time of King Herod, the Magi, what people would say the wise men, came from the east to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born to be King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and came to worship him." And King Herod was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. In verse 3, it says that King Herod was disturbed when he heard about the news of a king to be born, and that there were those who came from the east to go and worship him. They would normally pay homage to King Herod, but they were looking for a greater king. King Herod wasn't just disturbed, the only person, but so was all of Jerusalem. It makes me wonder, why was all of Jerusalem disturbed? I believe the reason why, and you can write in the comment section below if you anything to add or say about this, but I believe the reason why all of Jerusalem was disturbed because of the intentions of Herod. All of Jerusalem, the Jews, they were seeking a Messiah, and they knew that King Herod was not a Messiah. They knew that because he wasn't fulfilling the prophecies, but he was kind of a cruel king. I'm going to be giving you a brief historical lecture on Herod, and you can probably see why the people were troubled. Herod became the unchallenged ruler of Judea, a position he was to maintain for 32 years. To further solidify his power, he divorced his wife Doris, sent her and sons away from court, and married a woman by the name of, forgive me my pronunciation, Mirianim. She was a Hasmonean princess. Although the union was directed at ending his feud with the Hasmoneans, a priestly family of Jewish leaders, he was deeply in love with his wife. A lot has happened, but for the sake of time, I can't get into much details. But in the end, Herod murdered his wife, her 2 sons, her brother, her grandfather, and her mother. So as you can see how cruel King Herod was, murdering everybody. Again, that's probably why all of Jerusalem was troubled, because he knew that he was going to murder the Messiah. It kind of makes sense why the people was troubled. And just a few verses after, King Herod started the massacre of the innocents. He orders the execution of all male children, 2 years and under, parallel to the time of Moses, when Pharaoh ordered the execution of all male children, 2 years and under. We can see that Satan tried to destroy the deliverers, Moses and Jesus. Historically speaking, the oppressive Pharaoh that is noted in Exodus chapter 1 and 2 happened to be Seti I. And the Pharaoh during the time of Exodus happened to be Ramses II. Now we can see this in many verses in the book of Exodus, that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Number 2, he planned this so that he can display his glory. And number 3, so that the Egyptians would know that he is the one true God. The king's heart will always be in the hand of the Lord, and he directs it where he pleases. So if you look at the presidents, the people who are in authority, the officials, governors, prime ministers, it doesn't matter if you think they're arrogant or prideful, the wicked or irrational decisions. We're no different. It says, pray for the kings and those who are in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. So God revealed his plans to Moses. Before God do anything, he always revealed his secrets to his servants, the prophets. God told Moses that I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart. He planned this so that he can display his wonders in the land of Egypt. And then the Egyptians would know that I am the one true God, because they had many gods and goddesses. God knew exactly what he was doing. Whenever there was a famine, a disaster, some chaotic event in the land of Egypt, they prayed to certain gods whenever destruction was coming upon the land. The Egyptian god of the Nile was Hapi. The Egyptian goddess of love and protection, I'm pretty sure that they called out to her, was Hathor. Another one, the goddess of medicine and peace, which they really didn't receive, was the goddess Isis. The goddess of the sky, when there was darkness, and it was the goddess Nut. The Egyptian god of storms and disorder, of course the storms came, the hailstorms, they called out to Seth. And then the sun god was Ra. So they called out to them, but there was no answer, because God was showing them that I am the one true God. Those gods and goddesses, they were actually demons. We're going to venture off just a little bit, but I had to include this into this project as I was writing this. The 10 plagues during the time of Exodus is partially parallel to the 7 bowls of plagues that will be poured upon earth that was written in Revelation chapter 16. What happened during the time of Exodus will multiply on a grander scale on the entire world. In order, the Exodus plagues were turning water into blood, the frogs, the lice, the flies, the livestock, the pestilence, the boils, the hail, the locusts, and the killing of the firstborn son. In Revelation chapter 16, the first bowl is sores, the second bowl is turning the seas into blood, the third bowl is the rivers and the freshwater springs turning into blood, the fourth bowl that the angel poured out is the sun that was allowed to scorch people with fire, the fifth bowl causes the kingdom of the beast to be plunged into darkness, the sixth bowl was to turn the Euphrates rivers dry, and the seventh bowl caused a great earthquake and giant hailstorms that weighed between 75 and 100 pounds. Here's how some of the plagues in Exodus is linked up with the bowls of plagues in Revelation. The first plague of Exodus, which is turning the water into blood, will be a global plague in the second and third bowls that the angels will be pouring out. The sixth plague of Exodus, which is the outbreak of boils, will be the first global plague from the first bowl that the angel will pour out upon the people. The seventh plague of Exodus will be the seventh bowl that will be poured out. So as you can see, the 10 plagues during the time of Exodus is partially parallel to the 7 bowls of the plagues written in Revelation chapter 16. What happened during the time of the Exodus will multiply on a grander scale on the entire world. So with the behavior patterns of King Herod and Pharaoh, it's just the same. You have fear. From fear, it leads you into intimidation. From being intimidating, it leads you to dominating. From dominating, it leads you to oppressing someone. From oppressing, it leads you to death. Obviously killing somebody, and with them shedding innocent blood wasn't right. But this is what happens when you live in fear. Now, we all know that perfect love casts out all fear, and that the spirit of fear is not given to us by God. It's easy to pinpoint someone's issues and problems that they have because we don't have a mirror in front of our face. But when we do, we get to examine who we truly are. God's word isn't just for others, but it's for ourselves first. Jesus said, "Why worry about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own? How can you think of saying to your friend, 'Let me help you get rid of that speck in your eye,' when you can't see the log in your own eye? How can you say to your friend, 'Let me get rid of that speck that's in your eye,' when you can't see past the log in your own eye? Hypocrite. First, get rid of that log in your own eye, then you will see enough to deal with the speck in your friend's eye." That speck represents something so small. It's not even problematic, but it's a tiny issue. Think of a splinter. A splinter can only be seen and felt by you because it's in you. It has to take someone to closely examine your life to indicate the flaws and the problems that you are dealing with and tell you what you should work on and what you need help with. These are the ones that Jesus say are hypocrites because they have a log. That log is something that is huge. This log is like it's buried in your face. Everybody can see a log. People who have the biggest sins in their life is not even hidden anymore, but they are capable of diving into your life, looking at your problems and telling you what you should do. But they are the ones that should uproot their problems and get rid of that log so that they can assist someone that really needs help. And Jesus called them hypocrites. They're always focusing on everybody else's lives, but not their own. When I speak on the paranoia of Pharaoh, it was easy for me to speak on that. Because at one time in my life, I happened to nearly be like Pharaoh. Of course, it didn't lead me up to killing anybody, but it was just fear. And fear that got into my heart was able to get rid of love, because love and fear don't mix in the same thing. It's like light and darkness. It can never come together. They have to be separated. Even though I claim that I was in love with someone, I let fear overrule me. And since fear overruled me, I became intimidating. And from being intimidating, I was being a domineering person. And from being a domineering person, I started to oppress that person that I claimed to love. This happened years ago, and just remembering those stages brings me back to Pharaoh and Herod. That can simply be uprooted because, number one, you have to realize that perfect love casts out fear. And God did not give us the spirit of fear. Examine yourself first. If you are being overruled by fear, know the stages as what I have mentioned earlier so you can get rid of it. I love you all. Take care.